Live from Birmingham, Alabama. I got a great guest, and we're going to talk to you about all the reasons to be excited for this Badgers team this year, football-wise, plus some unbelievably good Q&A from our great listeners. Coming up next, Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings, as always, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for being here. As always, incredibly humbled to have anybody listening, building this community. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for being an everydayer. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. We have an unbelievably great guest. You know him. He's still great. We got Nick Osen, 247 Sports, jumping on the show. We had a great time in Platteville, man. Always incredible to see you. And we have a jam-packed show, so we got to get right into it.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to start here, man. What we're doing on this show is we're going to go position by position, and we're going to give people a reason we're excited for this year. Something, it could be an underrated storyline, a player, whatever it is. And then we're going to get into some Q&A that people in the Discord submitted. Plus, if you have live comments, you can throw those in here as well. We'll try to get to everything. No promises. Nick, let's start with quarterback. What are you excited about this year with quarterback?
Ryan, it's always great to be back, man. I think this one I'm going to try not to take the obvious for too many of these. But for this one, I think it has to be. QB1, Billy Edwards Jr., I believe has been the best, well, A, best quarterback, and B, just the best offensive fit that we have seen in Madison in a long time. You know, I think there's been really a lot of excitement, not just with some of his play, but his leadership. I mean, you can see it. You saw it when you were out in Platteville a little bit. He was all over the Big Ten Network with some of this stuff. Like, it has been a picture-perfect fit in that sense. And I just don't think that's something we've had at least probably 6-7 seasons. Maybe, I know that kind of you and me and some of the friend group on these podcasts have talked about maybe not since Russ Wilson. Like, it's been a while since we felt that type of kind of merger. I think this is the right move.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think you absolutely nailed it. I had the great Patrick Herb on the show, and I actually asked him that specific question. I asked him, does this remind you of a little Russell Wilson type thing where he came in and it's right away leadership? And Patrick said, no, not really, because Russ was almost a CEO type, and Billy is a man of the people. And it's different. And coming from Patrick Herb, it just really hit a certain way. I think it's Billy Edwards because it's quarterback. It's the most important spot in the field. It is a spot this team has struggled at, partially because of injuries, but it's a spot this team has struggled at for a couple of years. I think he brings legitimacy to this position. And if your quarterback is better, Nick, it's like being able to throw a number one starter. It just changes everything. And I am so excited to see that this year.
Without a doubt. And, obviously Patrick is amazing at what he does. One of the most knowledgeable, really, and best people to provide that type of feedback. But man, I agree. I do think Russ is a good leader. I think that, as you saw kind of in the NFL as well, it's a different type of leadership. But I think you and I have similar personalities. You like to bring people in and really connect. And I think Billy did that from day one. And I think it's something that was needed, quite frankly, in this program.
I think it's well said. Steve Kneebone says, Ryan, great to have Nick on again. Great dude. Also love the show with Zach. You know Zach Zilm. He was on talking about Amari Latimer and Jaden Petit. Let's go running back. I'll lead this one off. To me, again, I have a couple coming up, a couple positions where I take a bit of a deeper dive. This one is also maybe the obvious one to me. I can't wait to see Dylan Jones in regular season play against other teams' number ones. I think he has the potential to be a special running back. I've talked about it a couple times. Unique ability between the tackle to accelerate without wasted movement, really fluid and really natural, but good speed, good size, can catch the ball. I can't wait to see Dylan Jones, which I think is going to be a coming out party year for him.
Ryan, I couldn't agree more, but just to kind of add to it, right? So we're shifting things a little bit, not having the same. I'm just going to say, man, the excitement of having, I'll stick with it, multiple NFL level backs. Like, I'm not saying right now, they are that level, though I think Dylan Jones could play in the NFL like by this winter. I think he's that good. But just saying, overall, really shifting back to kind of a multi-level, versatile, dominant backfield, man, that, I know you're 2-3 years older than me, we'll say, but that that you grew up with and that I grew up with as well. Like, I think it's something, well, I know it is something that Badger fans have really missed. They've missed obviously some more of the 10-win seasons, 9 wins, and also just being able to run the ball like that. And as we get further into this, I think they're shifting back both to that and more victories. We've got some time, but that I'm thinking there's a lot going on right now, and it builds from that offense to move in the right trajectory.
Yeah, that's well said. We got Kyle in chat, CC Chaplin, Kate Berry, Jackson there. Always really appreciate everybody tuning in. Nick, let's go receivers. I'm going to kick it to you to start.
Yeah. So this one is easy for me. Like, I'm trying not to go the obvious. I think you could go like Tretch's fit here, but Vinny Anthony, man, I think is such a good story. Like, it doesn't seem like it if you're talking about college football 5-10 years ago, but today, I was thinking about it. Like, he's gone through at least 3, maybe 4 wide receiver coaches throughout his time. You'd have to check that on 4, but at least 3, right? Obviously, in this day and age, so many people move around. I think it was kind of like a process to see exactly how he would fit, how they would use him. And, man, he has just been locked in from the jump, been a phenomenal leader in that room, showcases with his speed. I think that's what people got his name out there last year. But I've said it, I've written it, I've reported it. Like, he has added more to his route tree, Ryan. I think that Vinny Anthony is a legitimate NFL prospect. He's very well liked within the team. And I'm just excited to see, like, okay, now you're going into a season knowing that he's the man. How does he kind of respond to that, take care of that, and still leave that great room under Jordan Reed?
Mr. 17.2 yards per catch. That's what I wrote down too. But again, let's shift gears. I think we each have a couple spots here that we want to talk about. I want to talk about Tyrell Henry a little bit. You want to talk about a guy under the radar, but when you watch practice, you're like, oh, who is that? Who is that guy that's just jet sweep 20 yards, explosive, the ability to on special teams? The coaches really like him. He is kind of a hidden name among maybe fans who don't go to practice, who haven't seen everything. He's quick. He's explosive. They definitely want to find ways to get him the ball. Tyrell Henry's going to make a couple plays this year, and I'm excited to see how he's utilized and how he's deployed.
Ryan, phenomenal answer. I mean, maybe more than a couple plays. I could see him making a couple, like, in a couple of games, if that makes sense. I think you really hit it well on the head. Tyrell Henry, Ryan, is a name going back to the spring. Jordan Reed brought up, I want to say he said he's been like really emblematic as basically what they want to see in the wideout room. He said similar about Chris Brooks. And I think that Brooks has had his moments, certainly some good moments in fall camp. But Tyrell Henry, like you said, if you're coming into a camp, you don't know a lot about this group. And you see that dude with the rock, like really, really impressive. I actually just put out a one-on-one story with him, I think a day and a half ago. Awesome to speak with. Really, really good call, Ryan.
So I have that bookmarked. I haven't had a chance to read it because you know this. I've been flying. I'm traveling. What is he like one-on-one?
He's truly like terrific. He's locked in, very detailed with some of his responses. He's humble. He's very reflective. Like, he's not afraid to say, hey, basically, I told coach, put me wherever. You can trust me. I just basically want to have a role and help this team win games. And I think that is something, Ryan, we've talked about it. I talked about it with our guys, Ajeev and Justin. I've written about it. Like, I don't think everybody was necessarily always team first in that first year, in 2023. I've talked about how there needed to be a bit of a culture shift, and he's a great example of that. Man, I mean, the Porter's always there, right? So last year he was dinged up a little bit, did not have much of a role at all offensively. I think I looked recently. I think he had like 1 or 2 catches. Returns weren't always perfect for him for what he maybe wanted. I know that he coughed one up, and he just comes back. He puts the work in. He's very humble about it, and he's a legitimate leader. I'd put him up there, Ryan, with Vinny Anthony as leaders in that room.
You know what sports are to a lot of people? That sports are a lot of wanting to root for people you want to root for. Like, you want your team to have people you want to root for. And you mentioned Vinny Anthony, who's been through. You and I both know he probably could have left if he had wanted to, but he stayed. He put the work in. He got better. He's been through multiple receiver coaches, multiple quarterbacks, many of which have not, like, he's had easier roads probably. And instead of that, he put his head down, put the work in, became a leader, and put the team first. People like this are easy to root for. man. And that's part
I'm
of
a
what's
Vinny Anthony guy, man. But, I mean, it's no secret. I've met his family multiple times. Amazing people, just so humble. And like you said, I mean, Vinny could be like the big time star if he wanted, in terms of just personality, things like that. And just one of the nicest dudes you'll ever speak with. Always, friendly, making the time. Like, I'm really hoping that he can get to kind of that 800-900 range and really get picked in the NFL, like a late day 2, early day 3 guy. I mean, I think he checks off all those boxes, and I think they'll just need to see it on display this year.
I think it's well said. Badgerman says, I even made it today. Finally catch a live show. Badgerman, we are here for you. I'm glad you're here. We're going to take a quick second. We're going to come back with tight end, offensive line, defense line. Plus, we got some banger questions from y'all. And if you have more, put them in the live chat. But first, we have to take a quick second for our friends of the show. And now, Nick, for Badger games, like, he's usually up in the press box. But listen, Nick is also going to want to hit comedy. He's going to want to hit theaters. He's wanting to go do some stuff with V. Like, Gametime is your place to get those tickets to everything, man. Like, why spend more money, make it harder on yourself? Let's go out and do more things in life. Like, you and I went and got pizza the other day. It was incredible.
That was fun.
Our guy Payne was there. Emma was there. V was there. We should go hit a comedy show. I've never been to a concert in my life. Like, never.
Well, actually,
seriously, like, this has been talked about on the show.
I don't care how big the band is. I'm just jumping in. I need to change that at some point in our friendship.
I agree. So let's pick a band.
I've got just the app.
Okay, let's pick a band, and they'll get those tickets on Gametime. We'll do it there. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime, whether you're going to Camp Randall, Cole Sender, or In Sync with me and Nick. I don't know if that's going to be the one. I don't know. I'll just throw it out there. Download the Gametime app, create the account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create the account, reading code LOCKEDONCollege. You're going to get $20 off that first purchase. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, let's come back into this. Nick, this is always the moment in the show where we take a second. What do you got going on, man? Talk to us about your content and where people can find you.
Yeah, Ryan, I really appreciate that. As it says, 247 Sports, Badger 247. We've got the team of myself, John McNamara, Payne Blazevich, and we've been very fortunate. Truly, like, I don't just say it to be humble. We've gotten to get to every single Badgers football practice within our team, full coverage, 3.5, just on average, like 3 to 4 stories a day just from each practice. So say about 3.5. We've got a promo going on, Ryan. I know a lot of your amazing listeners, our listeners, viewers, are already on the site. But if you're not, guys, there are many more things you could spend your money on that are bigger than Badger sports in the world. But if you're interested in that, which if you're watching the show, I'm sure you are, you can pay $30.50 for over 2,100 pieces of content. It is worth it. I give you my word.
I always say it, support good people doing good stuff. Nick is an incredible reporter. He's a better human being. I couldn't vouch for him anymore, quite honestly. Let's go tight ends. Why don't you start off, tight ends? What are you excited about this year?
It's got to be, you know what, I'm not just going to give one name. I'm going to say a little bit more tight end usage, similar to what I said about running backs, that actually are really kind of heavily focused and elevated within an offense. There's a name that, of course, first comes to my mind. That's Lance Mason. We talked about it at length about a week and a half ago. So I'll let you go deeper in that. But like those two, a guy like Grant Stack, shoot, Ryan, I'm not saying he sees the field this year, but I think Nate Letton and Co. got a real gem in Emmett Bork, by the way. Wisconsin's own. You will be happy to know I was actually in his old high school area today for a wedding tour. So I'm getting, to that level. But tight end, I don't think it's a big argument. I'd put that as a top 3 position I'm most excited to see this year, just because I think it'll be so elevated.
Love the answer. And I'm going to take the easy one here. I'm going to say Lance Mason. But it's Lance Mason almost for the variety in the ways he's going to be used, right? He's not – we've seen him in jet sweeps to the tight end, drag routes across the field, middle tight end screens. We've seen him, hit the seam a little bit. We've seen him as a point of attack blocker. Like he feels like a complete guy, and I didn't expect that. And I think Badger fans, and I mentioned this to Patrick Herb again when he was on the show, a lot of fans, when that season opener hits, they haven't been in Platteville. They weren't able to make the live practice. This will be the first look they get at this iteration of this year's teams. And I think Lance Mason's going to surprise them. I think it's going to guys are going to be like, wow.
He's been a guy that, like, even I didn't have those types of expectations for, man. I'm not telling you, like, I'm not the guy that's going to say everybody's a pro. However, the way he moves and the fluidity, and I think it was Billy Edwards Jr. that just had some amazing quotes about him on Monday. Like, there's some pro route running in there. There's some pro playmaking. I mean, it's not even a shock to say that when, Wisconsin, I think Missouri, I know Oklahoma, like some heavy hitters in the mix to try to have landed him. So great get, by Pat Lambert, Ethan Russo, Luke Fickell, Nate Letton in Wisconsin.
Yep. Let's go offensive line. I'll start here. I'm excited to see Brunner's ascension into what I think could be an upper echelon, upper tier Big Ten guard with power, the ability to control the line of scrimmage, the ability to drive people off that line of scrimmage. I think there's a lot of physical tools there, but more than anything else, you like the nastiness, you like the leadership. I'm excited to see the step Brunner takes this year.
I can't argue against that by any means. But just to keep this up, I think this is one you'll like too, man. I'm going to go with the young guys. Emerson Mandel seems like he is pretty well entrenched in that starting right guard spot. And then, of course, you're not going to be rotating 8-9 offensive linemen, but early in the season or, you're up big, you want to just have kind of those swing guys. I'm excited to see if Colin Coverly is a guy that can, potentially make his way as kind of that. They usually talk about swing tackle, maybe that swing guard. Somebody needs a breather, game's late, because he's someone, Ryan, physically has taken a massive jump. Brian Robinson, that is one of my guys, one of my favorite people on our site. Do I ever sleep? Occasionally, but I appreciate it. Brian, I put everything into this and excited about a lot we got cooking.
Let's talk defensive line. I'll start here. So I did separate this out from defense line and edge, but feel free to there is some gray area there, we both know, but defense line, I'm going JVR Suggs. And here's a guy was in the rotation at LSU, but he wasn't. I think there was a little more post-spring hype on other guys. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
And I think Suggs gives you some of that interior penetration that is unique in college football. Interior pass rushers can disrupt the pocket. He has flashed in that sense. I think in third down, second and longs, Suggs could be the guy that goes in there and knifes in there and creates some disruptive plays. I'm excited to see him this year.
Yeah. Amazing answer, dude. And I think for good reason, there maybe wasn't as much hype. And he has come on very strong in fall. I could say a similar name in Brandon Lane, but I'm just going to go with a general one and invoke the staff a little bit here. Man, E.J. Whitlow is known as a developer, and I think he's going to be really good with that. I'm excited to see how guys like, Jamel Howard, Ben Barton, Dylan Johnson, like how they've kind of come along since last year. Brandon Lane, I mentioned. I mean, he legitimately looks like a different player. And then I'll even give a shout out to a young guy, Xavier Ukponu. I think that Witt has developed him and Petaway in the last 6 months. I really do. So I'm excited to see, I'm not saying they're going to hit the field this year, but just long term, I think there's some real potential there on the interior, especially with X.
Love you. Yeah, I love the Xavier one. He's been on the show. I love that dude. Let's go edge. Let me kick it to you, edge.
That's easy, man. That is an easy one, Mason Reiger. I mean, there were practices. You were there for, I think, the third one of the ones I'm picturing. It was like, man, can you stop this guy at times, Because he's coming along as a pass rusher. Like, that's what he's known for, I should say. But he had a couple ridiculous run stops, setting the edge, rushing to the other side of the field. You talk about guys you pull for a little bit. His journey, not just to Wisconsin, but health-wise, man, it's really been, a tough journey dealing with some of the injuries that he has. And to see him healthy, so good to speak with. Like, I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, that's a great end. The Reiger Tiger, as Brady Collins told me once. I'm going to go with Aaron Witt, simply because I love the story, man. Again, much like we talked a little Henry, Vinny Anthony, incredibly easy guy to root for. Incredibly easy guy to root for. I understand it's going to be a bit of a role player to some degree. He's not going to have the impact a guy like Reiger does. But they like him. They have a couple plays of him getting out in space. He's going to be able to set the edge. And I just think he's an incredibly easy guy to root for. So I'm going to go with Aaron on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of those dudes, I think that have had these stories and that have stuck around and fought through things.
Let's take one more quick abbreviated break. Then we're going to get back. We're going to do linebackers, DBs, and then we are going to try to cram in some of your comments as well. Incredible group of people listening already today. I got a bunch of comments started. We got some from the Discord. First, a quick second for our friends of the show. Then we're going to come right back and talk a little bit of linebacker. Mr. Nick Osen, who are you taking at linebacker? What are you talking about for most exciting part this year?
Oof. This is going to be kind of an off-the-cuff answer. I'm going to go with the young guys. Like, basically, you've got your starters, which I know everybody's excited about, but who emerges in kind of the twos, or who comes up when Badgers are up 30 or guys just need a breather? Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of Garrison Saladay. He's not a young guy. He's another great story, walk-on that the team absolutely loved. But then we saw a lot of Coop Catalano, Brian, coming up with the twos. Somebody like him. And Taryn Turner was in the mix. And then I will say this. I don't remember if I even squeezed this in my story, so maybe a nugget for you guys. Mason Posa wasn't a ton, but he got a couple plays with the twos on – what's today? Tuesday at practice. The days are kind of melding together a little bit. So, I think those young guys are legit. It's not the first time I've said it. It won't be the last. But that's kind of what I'm looking for depth-wise.
Yeah, and as Ryan Robin, friend of the show, says, what about Cooper? And that's where I went to. I wrote down the young guys because I'm excited to see when we beat the brakes off some of those out-of-conference teams, which I think we might do. I'm getting very excited here. I think you're going to see Coop come in. I think everything we've seen in camp is going to translate. He reminds me instinctually of Chris Borland, different body types, but he's that type of player. He's going to play a lot here at Wisconsin, and he's going to leave in the vein of – this is before your time, but he's going to leave in the vein of a Mike Taylor, a guy that Badger fans just really remember very fondly. Maybe that's not before your time. I don't know.
No, you were right in it.
Okay, perfect. Regardless, I think it's a great answer. Let's go cornerback. What do you got for corner?
So, man, I'm not sure I'm more excited to talk about a position because I got a feature going. I've written about him at length in a couple longer pieces. Look, I actually just spoke with one of the guys' dads today, just checking in. I think that 2025 DB class, Ryan, is a home run. And in terms of this year, I think you'll see them at times. But Emilio Agard, I know you've had him on the show before, and I know he's awesome to speak with. I mean, to put on, I think he told me he's put on 22 pounds of muscle since last year. Like, he looks like a different player. He's incredibly confident. Do you want Nazir to come back? Of course, for himself, for the team. Like, he is who he is, and I believe even most of the cornerback room hopes that as well. But whether in his absence or in addition to his eventual return, potentially we'll see. Agard and those three freshmen, like that youth movement, Ryan, I think is going to be massive for Paul Haynes in the corners room.
Yeah, I'm going Agard here. This was like the first one I wrote down, dude, like Agard. Man, there's a couple dudes on this team I've talked to, and it's no shade to anybody else, but there's a couple dudes on this team I've talked to that are just so mature, so respectful, so humble. And there's a lot. It's not just Agard. I know you would have several others you put in that mix, but that kid is a kid. He's a great young person. His family's incredible, and he's really good at football. I can't wait to see what he does this year. I'm excited for him. I'm biased. I'm rooting for him, but I really like him. Agard's my answer there.
Yeah, it's a great answer.
Safety, I'm going to take the easy one. To me, listen, Zachman could be an easy one too, but to me, it's AB. I think AB is physically is a different type of guy than maybe even Hunter Wooler. Hunter Wooler was great. No, make no mistake about it. Hunter Wooler is a great play for the Badgers. Physically, AB is unique. He's going to fly around the football, and he's back to where I think he belongs. And here's the thing, the fact that he could play slot corner at that size tells you about the in-space explosiveness. That's pretty unique. I'm pretty darn excited about what Austin Brown is going to put on the field this year.
Ryan, I think you'd be crazy not to be, man. I mean, I feel like, with a lot of these players, like, of course, a lot of the media kind of echoes similar sentiments. Austin Brown is one that I will put my name out there a little bit. I've been saying it since, I think, February, man, that I think he's an NFL guy. He had a good spring, amazing fall. Like Luke Fickell was singing his praises. He's featured in the Athletic Freak story, really, really impressive. Just takes everything like very locked in, seriously. I think he's just all about his business. I'm excited for that room. I will just say the veterans in the room.
I think that's a good answer. Listen, we are getting tight on time. What I'm going to do is we got some questions, but Listen, people hear me talk every day. So I'm going to kick these questions mostly to you because this is kind of a spot where you can talk about it. And I think people value that kind of expertise that you bring. I do want to throw a couple of these starred comments I had. Mitch Ames, Ryan and Nick, love your input. Ryan Robin, Nick Osen is a fan favorite. Such a fun and honest guy. And then Justin asked if my wife kicked me out of the house again, back on the road. No, this is my adult job. I wanted to put this up there actually for a reason, because my wife, Erin, she's an absolute real one, and she allows me to do so many things, and she's incredible. And we've been married a long time. I don't even know how many years at this point, and she would forgive me for that. But I met her when I was 17, and like, she's a real one. So I do want to take this opportunity. She won't listen to this because she's not actually really that big of a sports fan, but I do appreciate her, and it'll get back to her somehow. All right, Nick, we got questions for. I'm going to kick these mostly to you because we had a lot of people hope to ask you questions, but I want to be very respectful of your time as always. This one right here, I like this one. Our guy Honcho. Discussion on do we actually have a pass rush? Can we create pressure this year? I miss Arandis Havoc with the linebackers. Just general thoughts on the pass rush from our guy Honcho.
Yeah, no, Honcho is one of our guys, man. Always appreciate his questions. And I'm featuring a bunch of his in my mailbag this weekend for fall camp. But yes, I mean, I'm not like, people confuse optimism with like hyping and over exaggeration. I don't think I've done that with a single player or group this year, Ryan, to be honest. But unquestionably, there is a pass rush. I would say when you have some of the interior guys we said, coupled with Cordy Walker, we didn't even mention his name, right? That's kind of how deep some of these rooms are now. Mason Reiger, Sebastian Cheeks, they love his expertise in the rush. And Tyrese Fearbry, man, he is really, really coming along. So absolutely they will create pressure. I'm not saying it's going to be, the steel curtain or something like that, but like it's much, much improved. And top 2 to 3 guys, I'll just give a quick 2 because we've got a lot of other questions. I will say Reiger and Fearbry. I mean, Fearbry moves a little bit differently in that pass rush. That's a fact.
Yeah, he's a big guy. I want to get this one. This is a playmaker, Curtis Holland. Have you observed any 2 running back sets? I'll just say this. Having been at some of the practices, they definitely are playing around with putting a couple more playmakers back there, mixing up some of those sets, getting more of those running backs on the field. I do think you're going to see some interesting things, Curtis. And as always, my guy, appreciate you more than you know. He's a great dude, obviously, his Badger ties. I like this one, Mr. October. Since you started covering the Badgers, what player or coach has made you laugh the most?
That's a good one. That really is. I'm trying to think. I had a couple perfect answers for this one. Look, I think Vinny Anthony has been funny before. Ben Barton certainly has. He's got kind of a dry humor. So I think football-wise, those are a couple names that come to mind. Maybe Tretch. And then basketball at times, Greg Gard has cracked some pretty good jokes up at the podium, man. I'm not even kidding. So those would be my answers.
This is a good one from Jack. Biggest concerns, potential weaknesses you've seen in camp. Obviously, this has been a very positive show for a lot of reasons. Like, there's been a lot of good things that come out of camp. What's maybe something that still worries you if you're a Badger fan?
Yeah, I think just, obviously I'm okay talking about it because it's been made public with Jake Renfro. I just think that like overall potentially health and seeing him, back quickly, returning quickly, the O-line just for the most part being healthy, obviously after the huge loss of Kevin Haywood. Like I think that would be a potential concern. And then, defensively, I think that while we've said all these things about those young corners, I think we can be honest that there could be some growing pains, as I'm sure there would be expected to be, especially when you're playing opposite, Rico Hallman, who is very well trusted. I just think that there are going to be some tough matchups. My mind goes to a game like Ohio State, with some of the wideouts they have. But I don't think I have a single massive concern or weakness. I know that roster-wise, it doesn't feel like there are many glaring holes. This is a good football team that is going to be better. I still have not made my official wins prediction. I think I'm going to keep it, positive but respectable. Like I'm not going to go, 11-1, but it's also not going to be a losing record. Like this team will be back bowling if those top 3-4 guys can be healthy.
Love it. Greg, Dylan Jones, do you have any concerns about his hands to be a true 3-down running back?
Oh, wow. I didn't see that one earlier. That's a good one. No, I don't have don't have the concern. So yes, he does have the hands to be a true 3-down. I don't think he's going to be that necessarily all the time because like Giacomelli's put the time in, the work in. He's going to get the rock. We know Dupree's the best receiver out of the backfield and one of the best on the team. But Dylan Jones, does he have the hands to? I believe so. It's something that he's worked on a lot. We've seen him used as a pass catcher at times, and like, man, he is electric with the ball in his hands. So, yes.
Rob Swanson, would Nick trust Ryan to help him with a house project and vice versa?
So I would trust Ryan. I hope he wouldn't trust me. I think that I've got a lot of good qualities. I think I am not great with the manly around the house type stuff. I'd rather be running the laundry and things. So I'm not gonna lie, that's what I do. So Ryan, don't trust me.
I would come over and Nick, we would rock a project at his house 100%. We're going to quickly bang through these. In fact, we may just finish with this one because, again, bunch of comments. We're never going to get to everything. That's what happens when you have a guy like Nick on the show. I really like this question from Northwoods. What story or player are you most excited to cover this year? And listen, there's going to be a lot, but what stands out here?
Yeah, I think if I can go two Northwoods, one on each side, defensively quickly, Mason Reiger. I mean, I don't throw this around Ryan because I feel like we are kind of examples of these characteristics in terms of like bringing people in, very sincere, but like, man, you speak with Mason Reiger and just the grateful side and the blessed feelings that he has to just be playing. Like, it's a cool thing, man. So I really respect that. And offensively, just I think not only is this offense better suited for the Badgers, but like, you should hear the way Emilio Agard was just talking about the offense, or like some of these guys are saying, I think AB last week, like they are very impressed with some of the intricacies. We've seen some of the highlight plays, and I'm excited to cover it and see what Grimes can shake up. I got time for one more if you're cool with that, Ryan.
Do you want it? We got one from Tori. Is Maryland a potential trap game for us? Sandwich between Bama and Michigan?
No. That's an easy one for me, and that's because I think, there is a bye in there. I think it goes Bama, Maryland, bye, Michigan. And number two, like, of course there are going to be the fun social media highlights and things like that, but, like, this team is not about, the hype or the excess or overlooking. Like, they know last year was not acceptable, man. I mean, that's pretty – easy to make clear. And so I don't see them overlooking anyone. I think they're going to be looking to make statements, especially after we'll see how it shakes out, but at least schedule-wise, a tough game in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, Billy's not losing to Maryland. I respect the question, though. Like, I get it because it is in between two of your tougher spots. Maryland should be one of the games you get. It's at home. Billy's not losing that game. He's not losing that game. All right, we're going to wrap it there. Again, we have the great Nick Gosen on. I did want to throw this up there because sometimes I don't even know what I say. Matthew just said, oh my God, Ryan. I don't know what that's even in response to. Like, he's great. He's on the Discord. You have to let me know. Nick, go follow what he's doing. Follow him on Twitter. Go check out what he's doing at 247. I'm a member there. It's very worth it. And again, I always say it, support good people doing great work. That's by the very definition of it, Nick Gosen. So appreciate him coming on the show. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you. This is kind of a pop-up show, but really do appreciate everybody tuning in as always, building this community. Thank you for that. On Wisconsin. And Nick, we'll talk later. No doubt about it.
You guys rock. We'll be talking offline and be back. Game preview. Let's get it.
Let's go. On Wisconsin, and we will talk later.